Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name's Meredith E. Phillips and I'm back. I have taken a writing break and today, May 20th, I'm back. So if you watched the last video or like the last couple videos, you know the past week I took off work, I took a break from writing, and I have played The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom for probably about 70 hours, give or take. I can't tell yet because the Nintendo Switch doesn't tell you how many hours you've played until 10 days after you start playing. Why? I don't know. I'll put the total here for you. I'm quite proud of it. I've seen a lot of things, and yet this game is so massive. This game is so expansive and huge. Like, there's so many things I haven't done yet. Like, I'm not even halfway through the game. It's a really good game. But I've played for a week and a day. It's been awesome. It's been really fun just hanging out on the sofa all day, playing a video game. It's been fantastic. I haven't touched any of my writing work at all. It was a true break. I thought about it a little bit. We'll get to that in a second, but I haven't touched it at all. I did end up doing some work after the last vlog you saw in the week before the game released. I did do some work. I did end up rewriting most of chapter 1. And so now I was trying to think last night, like, where was I? Like, what was I even working on? I should have left some notes to myself, but I had just rewritten chapter 1 and I had started working through like chapters 2, 3, and 4 so that I could weave in the changes that I made in chapter 1 to those subsequent chapters, you know, so it'll flow correctly. So I'm pretty sure I left off somewhere in like chapter 2. We'll start with that today, probably. I'm gonna need to reread some stuff and think of what the heck I was doing. I also had some thoughts about one of the problems, like logistical, historically accurate problems I was having. Sorry about the light, by the way. It's sunny and so it's going to be just like in and out. One of the problems that I realized or encountered while I was drafting this is because the main characters are going from a London residence to a Carlisle residence, which is like on the opposite side of the country. I was like, what's the servant situation? Do they have like a butler in both houses and a housekeeper and maids and like footmen? Like, that's a lot of people to have on your payroll, especially as my main character is in some financial difficulties. So I was trying to research like, well, what did they do? What did you just have servants randomly hanging out at fancy houses? Like, that doesn't seem accurate. So what really happened back in the day is they would send their servants with them. So they would plan a trip and then send servants in, you know, carriages to go to the other place and kind of shut down the other house while they weren't living in it, right? That makes sense. But that's a lot of expense. And again, main character's suffering financially at the beginning of the story, so that didn't seem like something he would do. And so I thought of a good solution. One of the other things that people would do occasionally in London, and I guess in other areas too, but if you had a big townhouse or a fancy place to live in London that was yours, but maybe you didn't need it for a season or something, you could rent it out. People frequently rented out their properties to other people. And that seems like a much better solution because then he can, instead of staying in this fancy townhouse and having to hire like a cook and a butler and a maid and a blah, 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 like he doesn't need that kind of expense. He's a single dude at the beginning of the book. So it would make much more sense for him to rent out that townhouse, get some much needed income from the rental, and then rent for himself just like a small room. Like, he doesn't need some massive place to stay. He needs like a bedroom and like a receiving parlor. Like, you know, he doesn't need all that much. So that's the solution I'm going to go with. But that does mean I'm going to need to rewrite portions in like mainly the second half of the book when they come back to London. So those are the two things I'm going to try to work on today. The other thing I remember I'm like, that seems like a lifetime ago because I've done so much running around in Hyrule in the last week. The other thing I remember I was working on was incorporating the notes I've gotten from my critique partners. And I do still want to do that, but I want to do this first. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do today. Before we get to all that though, I just want to lay out for you my amazing summer. This summer is going to be so good. I'm really excited. I have so much cool stuff happening and I'm just like, this is the best. It's the best. I have a couple new things to share with you. Some of them are writing related. Some of them I'm just like super excited about because it's personal interests of mine. But as we said, today's May 20th, Saturday, tomorrow, the 21st. So by the time you're seeing this, I'm sorry, it's already over. I don't know if you can see it again, but Foo Fighters, my favorite band, they are doing a free live stream where they're gonna be performing some of the new songs off their new album, which is coming out June 2nd. We're excited. The 2 songs they've released so far are amazing. I love them. But they're doing a free live stream. They're gonna be performing some of the new stuff. Other surprises, I don't know what that's going to be, but I'm excited, so we're going to watch that tomorrow. Then, the album comes out on June 2nd. Amazing. Super excited. Then, you guys, if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen my over-exuberant story on this, but that theater in Austin, if you remember back in September, they were showing Lawrence of Arabia. I was super excited. I got to go see it for the first time in 3 years. I was like beside myself. They're doing another like summer films schedule. And I was like, ooh, they released their schedule for the whole summer. I was like super excited. Let me see what they're going to show. I was like, they're not going to show Lawrence because they showed it back in September. Like it wasn't even that a year ago, right? But I was excited. Maybe they're going to show something else that I'll be interested in driving 2 hours to go see. Well, they're showing it again. They're showing it again on June 25th, which is a Sunday. It's at 2 p.m. I can drive out there, watch the movie, and drive home. I'm so excited. So I get to go see that in June. And then in July, I have not 1, but 2 back-to-back weekends of like writerly goodness. So back in January, I joined the Regency Fiction Writers group. And they host an annual conference. And so I've signed up for their conference. There's a ton of good stuff that I'm really excited about. I'll put a link to them below if you're also writing Regency or historical romance of some sort and you're interested in their group. It's a really good group. But anyway, I'll link them below if you're interested in checking that out. But I've signed up for their conference. I'm going to go. I'm really excited. It's like 3 days of all kinds of different speakers and all kinds of cool stuff. The week after that, the weekend after that, in July, the 22nd, what day is that? Yeah, the 22nd, 23rd. I've signed up for Query Camp. This is something put on by Adrienne Young. She's the author of Fable and Namesake. I think those are her 2 big books that she's most well known for. They're excellent YA fantasy if you've not read them. But she puts on the Writing with the Soul workshop, which I took earlier this year, and she does exclusive events for alumni of the workshop, and this is a new one that she's put together called Query Camp, and it's all about how to write a query, how to write a synopsis, how to interact with literary agents. She has literary agents, like Root Literary is going to be there. New Leaf Literary, we know they have some issues at the moment, but they're gonna be there too. And like tons of like the marketing director for Avon. She's got some high quality people who are going to be presenting, doing critiques of people's query letters, like all kinds of stuff. So that's going to be in July. I'm so excited. That's going to take me through the end of July. I don't have anything lined up for August yet. If anyone wants to suggest something, I am ready. But yeah, the next couple months are just going to be super fun with Zelda all interspersed within all of that. What a good couple months this is going to be. I'm very excited. Before we get to all that though, I do need to finish working on this manuscript. Maybe by the time we get to July, I'm going to be looking for betas. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves though. Remember, my deadline for myself for this draft 3 is June 30th. Okay, so I've got a little over a month at this point, a month and a half-ish maybe, to finish this up. I think that's still doable. I still feel good about that being like, you know, an achievable goal. So in that vein, I've been talking for entirely too long at this point. Let's go ahead and dive back into this manuscript. We're probably going to start with some rereading because I don't remember certain details. So let's go. I'm not entirely sure I remember like words. I don't know. Have you ever played a game so much that you see stuff in real life and you're like, huh, game thing, but it's like not. We were on a walk with the dogs a few days ago and we turned the corner of our street onto another street, and up in the sky, not too far above like the houses, above the rooftops of the houses, there was this black floating rectangular thing. And my first thought was, oh, Sky Islands. It was a helium balloon. Must have gotten loose from somewhere. But my literal first thought was, it is a sky island. I must go to it. It was just a balloon. All right, let me see if I can like get back into the flow of this story. Reread this new chapter 1. Let's go. Okay, so I've reread the first 4 chapters, maybe 5, because I think how I redid chapter 1, I think maybe needs to be 2 chapters. It's very long. We'll deal with that another time though. But I've reread these. I must have already finished because like previously incorporating like that new chapter and then fiddling with the next couple chapters to make sure it works out, because there was already changes in it. I added a few little things, but not much. So I think I'm done with that part, which is pretty exciting. I'm debating what I want to do next. I said I needed to go through like mainly the second half and fiddle with the living situation stuff. I don't really want to do that right now. I kind of want to, there's so many things I want to do. I kind of want to keep reading and see if the first act is done enough with revisions to send it as a chunk to one of my critique partners. We talked, and what we had said was like I was going to do some revision work and then send her more like chunks at a time, so she gave me so she could give me feedback more as like overall how like the pacing and the flow of the story is going, like that kind of thing. So I do want to kind of do that, but I probably should just do the annoying changes in the second half. Let me look through the second half and see how much needs to be changed. You know, this might be one of those things where I'm like, I don't want to do it, and then I actually do it and it's like not really that much to do, you know? So let me look at what needs to be changed, how much there is to change, and then reconvene. So let me do that real quick. Remember when I said I thought maybe it would be quick to do this? Obviously, your girl had to do some research to figure out what place I couldn't just have rented rooms. I couldn't just say rented rooms. No. What kind of rented rooms? Where are they? Is it a hotel? I don't know. We have researched. It's a hotel. Had to decide which hotel would be appropriate for him to stay in. So that's what I've spent like the last half hour trying to figure out, is what hotels would have been in London, where would he have stayed. It wouldn't have been at like the super fanciest hotel. So he's staying in the newly opened Mivarts, which is still there today, but they've renamed it as Claridge's. Claridge's or Claridge, I don't know how they say it, but anyway, it's like a 5-star hotel now in London, but it wasn't quite that fancy, I don't think, at this point. Anyway, none of that really matters, but that's where he's staying. So now I can actually do the part where I go into my manuscript and make like 2 sentences of changes, you know. It's almost noon though, and I'm getting really hungry, so I'm going to try to finish this one part where they're just arriving, and then I'm going to get lunch. So let's take care of this business. All right, I've had lunch. I've looked over the second half of this story, and there's actually there's quite a bit that needs to change. There's some parts are just like a quick, you know, couple sentences of change. And then there's a couple scenes that it's going to be a little more involved. I changed one of them. It's not very good, but I started at least to try to work on it. And yeah, I really don't want to do this part of it right now. So I think I'm going to go in and start working with the critique partner comments on earlier chapters and just sort of ignore this issue for now. I know what needs to be fixed and I know generally like how to fix it. I just don't want to do the work. I just don't want to do the work right now. So I'm going to do some easier work. Still work, just easier, less brain power, less deleting. There's one part in particular where I'm like, but I really like how it is. But it can't be that way if he's not at a townhouse. Anyway, I'll deal with it later. So for now, I'm going to pull up all the critique partner documents and try to work on incorporating some of those comments and feedback. That'll be much easier. Let's go. But first we need a little coffee. I am absolutely hitting like the mid-afternoon tired slump. So we made ourselves some coffee. Also, I don't think I showed you. Look at how cool this shirt is. I got it from NaNoWriMo, obviously. Like a month and a half ago. I forget. Maybe not. I don't remember when I got it. It was recently, and I don't think I've shown you yet. But it's long sleeve. Ooh, which I really like, and it's such a cool design. Very cool. Okay, I gotta go do this and drink my coffee. I'm getting tired. It's 3 o'clock. I'm going through Zelda withdrawal because I haven't played all day. Anyway, but like, okay, I've been working on this. I think the first act is just about ready to send as a chunk to a critique partner. So I actually started looking up like, I mean, I knew there were specific questions I wanted to know, like, is this hitting right and that kind of thing. But I was looking up like other questions to ask and stuff and just sort of compiling a little list of like things for her to think about while she rereads it. I'm gonna sort of just finish that up and then be done for today because my brain powers for this kind of work are diminished. My brain powers for solving Zelda puzzles very high because they have not been employed yet today. So I'm probably gonna go do that after I finish up this, but it does feel good to be back to writing. It took me a little minute in the early part of the day to like get into the flow. My plan for this coming week is to work a little bit more tomorrow and then start back at my regular 5:30 wake up time so I can spend time in the mornings working on this. June 30th, that's our deadline for this draft 3. I think we'll hit that. I think we're doing pretty good so far. This has been a good first day, sort of back in the writing trenches, and I'm looking forward to pressing forward through the rest of this next week. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, you can click I haven't done this in a second. You can click the subscribe button if you liked it enough to want more of my content. I post videos usually on Fridays. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!